Good afternoon. Hey. Oh, what's up, everybody? I have been meaning to make another video anyway, but I had a couple goobers keep asking me when I was going to make another video. So here we go. Let's do another story, okay? Apparently, the freshmen had some issue because they didn't get the last How I Met Their Mother story, or at least some of them, because they didn't come to the last week of school. Now, how is that my fault? That they were like, oh, it's the last week of school. I mean, they're not teaching anything. I taught things. It's painful at times, but by golly, I taught you stuff. We had social emotional lessons. We watched some Bluey, and I told How I Met Their Mother stories and all these other stories. So it's not my fault that you missed out on them. But apparently, they're kind of bummed that they didn't hear some of the last ones. And if I'm being honest, there's also some other How I Met Their Mother stories that I don't tell because it happened after the marriage. So I figured, let's tell a story or two as I drive, because that always makes perfect sense. Eyes on the road, Mr. Beckstead. Now, last How I Met Their Mother story. This one takes place a week before Mrs. Beckstead and I were going to get married and leads up to the day of the marriage. Now, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which some people will refer to as Mormons because we read the Book of Mormon as well as the Bible. Now, why does this matter? Well, because one of the things that we do is we get married in our sacred temples. We believe that marriage, when done by God's authority, can last beyond death, right? That you can continue to be married to someone, not until death do you part, but that this can continue going on when done by the priesthood authority of God. So in order to do that, you have to get married in the temple. And in order to enter into the temple, you need to be a member of good standing in the church, which means, excuse me while I am entering into the interstate. That's always a fun experience. In order to enter into the temple, you have to have what we call a temple recommend, which means you're a member in good standing. You are living the gospel as it's taught to you, and you're following along with the tenets of our faith. Okay? So, with that context in mind, in order for Mrs. Beckstead and I to get married in the temple, we intended to get married in the Albuquerque temple because we are both from New Mexico and we both consider the Albuquerque temple to be our home temple. We needed to have our recommends, okay? And you can't get in unless you have this recommend. So, week before we're getting married, it is finals week at Brigham Young University. I keep getting this glare. I am sorry. Let me see. I don't know that that's going to make it any better, but we'll do our best. So it's finals week. Now, if you don't know how finals week at college works, what happens is you can take your tests at any time during finals week, okay? It's not like they schedule out when the test is happening. You go into the building, you say, this is the class, this is the test I want to take, and they give you the test for that class. So you could wait all week to take your finals, or you can knock them all out in the first day. Well, Mrs. Beckstead and I decided to knock our finals out all in that first day. So we studied hard, we went in on like Monday and Tuesday, and we took all of our finals in those 2 days so that we could then fly out on Wednesday, get to New Mexico, do our preparations to get married on Saturday, okay? So we did all of our finals Monday, Tuesday. We flew out to New Mexico. We're getting ready to get married, okay? Now, as part of that process, I also need to pack up my apartment because I'm not going to be living with the boys anymore. I know, that's heartbreaking. Oh, how could you leave the boys? Remind me. I didn't run into Evan, one of my boys. He and I got together this summer. I need to tell you that story sometime. It's not that exciting. We have kids and we're goofballs. Besides the point. So I'm not going to be living with Evan anymore because I'm getting married to Mrs. Beckstead. So I'm packing up my apartment. I'm getting all of my stuff ready. I'm getting all of that, and I'm bringing a bunch of it back to New Mexico and storing other stuff until we get back, because we're going to live in Provo for that summer. We're not going to live in New Mexico. We're going to go get married in New Mexico, then we're going to drive back up to Provo to live. So we get back to New Mexico, and I'm unpacking all of my stuff. And while I'm unpacking all of my stuff, you know what I realize I had forgotten in New Mexico? My temple recommend. So I can't enter the temple without this recommend. And I'm like, oh, where did I leave it? And I'm sitting there and I'm panicking, and I'm like, no, I put it in my scriptures, right? We have what we call the quad. It's a combination of multiple scriptures, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Book of Mormon, and the Doctrine and Covenants, which is another thing. We'll not get into it right now. But I had put it in my scriptures, so I'm like, they're in my scriptures. I just need to get my scriptures. Whoa, this is not oh, biscuits. Whew, that was close. I had a big old semi-truck merging into my lane, and then another car was... I'm talking and I'm paying attention to the road. We're safe, we're good. Okay, so anyway, I needed my temple recommend. It's in my scriptures. I'm looking for my scriptures, and as this is going on, I realize I left them in Provo. So I call up Evan, I call up my roommate, and I'm like, Evan, I need you to do something for me. I need you to look for my scriptures. And he's like, oh, okay. And he goes and he finds them. He's like, oh, I found them right here on your desk where you left them. And I'm like, awesome. I need you to open it up and see if my temple recommends in there. And he opens it up and he goes, Mama, your temple recommends there. How are you going to get married, Mama? And I'm like, I know, that's the problem, Evan. I need my temple recommend to get married. And he's like, I got you, Mama. I'ma mail it to you. And I'm like, yes, that sounds great. Please mail it to me. Get it to me as quickly as possible. If you day air it or whatever, I'll pay you back. And he's like, I got you, Mama. I got you, Mama. I'ma do it. Call him up the next morning. I'm like, Evan, did you mail my temple recommend? And he's like, oh, dude, I forgot. I had some stuff to take care of, but I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna do it. I got you. He didn't get me. I love my boy, but he did not mail it to me. And I said, Evan, I need it mailed. And he's like, it's okay, because what we're gonna do is I'm gonna bring it with me when we go up to the wedding, because Evan was planning, the boys were planning to come up to the wedding. They were driving up from Provo to New Mexico to be there at the wedding, all right? And I'm like, okay, but you cannot forget, I cannot enter the temple unless I have this recommend, right? It's like a driver's license. I need it in order to do the thing, okay? He's like, I won't forget. We'll be there at the wedding. It's gonna be great. And I'm like, okay. Now, before you all are like, oh my gosh, he forgot it when they drove. No, he remembered. He did remember it. So what they were planning on is they were going to drive from Provo to New Mexico Friday, okay? And so they would get there. Man, I am really glaring. I am sorry. I'm at a stoplight right now, so let's see if we can get rid of that glare. Woo! There we go, right? Is that better? That's not really better, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so they are planning on driving from Provo to New Mexico. It is about a 12-hour drive, okay? It's a pretty long drive. So I'm telling them, and I'm like, all right, if you all leave in the morning around 8 o'clock on Friday, you will get there around 8 o'clock on Friday night. You give me my recommend. Saturday morning, I go drive down to the temple to get married, because I'm getting married at 8 o'clock Saturday morning in the temple. They're like, yeah, we got this. By the way, little Mike just needs to take a final before we leave. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you mean he needs to take a final? He's had all week to take finals. And they're like, it's fine. We'll take care of him. I'm like, fine, okay. Little Mike, take care of your final. It'll be good. So I call him up, 8 o'clock in the morning. All right, are you getting ready to leave? Well, no, because little Mike hasn't taken his final. What do you mean he hasn't taken his final? Like, testing centers have been open for hours. Go take your final. Yeah. I mean, he's still studying right now, but no, go take your final, right? Like, dude, please do this for me, okay? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. They left around 4 in the afternoon. Now, for those of you who are able to do some math and some calculations here, if they're leaving at 4 in the afternoon, that means they're not getting there until the morning, right? And they're like, it's fine, we'll be there, we'll swing by your house, we'll drop it off. You'll go leave at 5:30 in the morning to go to the temple in Albuquerque to get married. It's fine. I'm not a hot mess at all, right? I am not freaking out. I am not panicked. I'm not worried. I don't have family in town or anything like that going on. Now, in the process, I don't remember what the town is called, but there are fire trucks. Move out of the way for them. Get off to the side of the road. Where are they going? They are trying to turn into where I'm going. I need to move over. My gracious, everybody, this is not the situation. As always, when emergency vehicles... Woo! Really, guys, you won't let me get back onto the road after I shift off to the side? It has been an exciting drive today. Woo! Anyway, as you drive from Provo to Los Alamos, there's this one moment where you need to make a turn. I don't know. This car is trying to get back into the lane because they were moving over for the emergency vehicle. I don't remember what the turn is called, but you need to turn left. And if you don't turn left, rather than going into Colorado and then coming down into New Mexico and going through like Taos and Espanola and places like that, you end up trying GPS reroutes and tries to take you through northern New Mexico into like the mountains and into the back roads, okay, to get you to Los Alamos. So I told them, you cannot miss this turn. And if you miss this turn, don't trust GPS. It won't route you the right way. You absolutely need to take this turn. So obviously, if I'm emphasizing this to you all, they missed the turn, right? They didn't take the turn, but then GPS rerouted, and they're like, oh, it's fine. GPS has rerouted us. It's not fine, okay? They didn't tell me this. So I am staying up late because I am nervous and I am worried that my temple recommend's not going to get there, and I'm not going to be able to get married the next day. I'm supposed to get married tomorrow morning, and I don't have the temple recommend. So I'm staying up late. It's about, I don't know, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I get a call from them, and I'm like, where are you guys at? And they're like, Mama, we're kind of lost. And I'm like, what do you mean you're lost? And they're like, these roads are really sketchy. And I'm like, what do you mean the roads are really sketchy? And that's when I find out that they didn't take the turn that they were supposed to, and they got lost. And I'm like, guys, oh my gosh. Okay. They're losing signal. It's nuts, okay? And I'm tired and stressed and worried, and I say, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go backtrack, and you're gonna go backwards and reset GPS to the temple. You are going to go to the Albuquerque temple, and you're going to stay at the temple until I get there in the morning. And you're going to meet me there, because from where you're at and where you're telling me, you should get there around 6 in the morning. So if you get there at 6 in the morning, I arrive there at 7:30, I get my temple recommend from you. I can go get married. Yeah? Okay, we got a plan. Let's do this, boys. Okay, we got this. I obviously don't sleep that night. Now, I get up the next morning, I get showered, I get ready, I get in the car with Mrs. Begstead, we go to the temple together. Now, I insist on this because in case there's a car crash, at least we car crash together, right? Mrs. Begstead leaves her phone because she's like, I'm not worried about it. You're with me, it's fine. I don't need my phone. I bring my phone. Well, in the process of the night of checking my phone nervously and doing all of the calls and everything like that, I didn't realize that my phone the wall outlet wasn't plugged in. So we start driving to Albuquerque, and around that time is when we notice that my phone's at like 3% battery, okay? And I notice this when I call them and verify, and they're like, yeah, we're here, we made it to the temple. And I'm like, awesome, okay, whatever, they'll be there. So I pull up to the temple. My phone's on like 2% battery, and they're not there. And I call him up, and I call up Evan, and he doesn't answer. And I call up Justin, and he doesn't answer. And I call up Adam, and he doesn't answer. And my phone is at 1% battery, and it's blinking. And I call up Little Mike, and Little Mike answers, and he's like, Mama! And I'm like, where are you? And he's like, oh, we got hungry, so we went to go get McDonald's. And I'm like, no! Get back here now. I have cinnamon rolls for you. I will feed you. Come back to me. Bring me my recommend so I can get married. Yeah. We're a few minutes away. They show up with the McDonald's. They get out of the car and they're like, Mama! And I'm like, don't you mama me. Do you have the right? We have the recommend. I'm like, oh. It's 7:45 and I am walking up to the temple with my recommend in hand and am able to enter into the temple and get married. And it was beautiful. It was wonderful. I was so happy. All the stress, all the nerves, everything. It was worth it, right? I finally got to be married to Mrs. Beckstead, whom I loved and still love, right? Love her more than I did then. But man, that was a wild ride, okay? I still have the picture of my boys and I at the temple because they managed to get the recommend there. And yeah, the boys came through. So, more stories to tell. We'll see about doing it. Hopefully the trip won't be quite so exciting next time, but look, I made it here. Yay, hands free. I love you all. I miss you all. More stories to come.